Hi everybody, first of all I want to apologize that my videos are not professional. I am one person operation. My name is Parvane Shamsi. Parvane in Persian means butterfly. Shamsi means sun. I love science. The last 2 years I have recorded 68 videos and posted 59 of them on Facebook, but they are in Persian. My children and my American friends felt that they missed out, so I decided to speak in English. First time I have written everything in English till you get used to my accent. Today I want to talk about methane or CH4, the resource of methane, what farts and burp are made of, and are the politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bill de Blasio right telling us we shouldn't eat cow's meat because they emit methane? And I will end up this lecture with a very meaningful and funny sentence. Okay. Methane is a chemical compound that at room temperature and the standard pressure is colorless and odorless gas. It's also harmless for soil, for water, for underground water, and in the atmosphere because the amount of it is extremely low. It is one of the greenhouse gases. The amount of it in atmosphere is 0.00017 or 18%. It is non-linear. I am going to explain everything in the future lecture, but approximately it observes 20 times more radiation of the sun than CO2. Let's say if we had 20 times more methane, then we would have 0.002%. But CO2 is 0.04%. Still, we have 20 times more CO2 than methane in our atmosphere. It is flammable gas. I have videos that showed Atlantic Ocean and some swamp in Florida. Methane from underground, like a bubble, emit in the atmosphere. They go with a boat and collect them and use a match and it bursts to fire. So the swamp, especially in Florida, are very dangerous. If the thunder hit them, it could kill many people. And it is the main component of natural gas. Today, 2/3 of USA natural gas and 50% of nations' natural gas are produced by fracking. What is fracking? They drill a hole in crust of the earth between the rocks and they push 2 pipes inside this hole. And from one of the pipes, whether inner or outer, they inject water at high pressure, and from the other, extract oil and natural gas. Natural gas is approximately 38% of electricity in USA, and heating the homes and businesses. It is much cleaner than all the other fossil fuel, oil and coal, and probably replace gasoline and diesel fuel. And it produces less CO2. That is why the last few years USA produced less CO2, but China and India produce more CO2. Okay, let's see the resource of methane. This chart is from NOAA satellite of NASA. This chart shows us that the bacterial resource approximately emit twice methane than fossil fuel. 3/4 of fossil fuel produce methane because of production of oil. 1/4 because of leakage of fossil fuel. Right now we have one satellite. By 2020, we will have another satellite named Methane satellite that they are going to fly around Earth, and they go over gas field and pipeline and report all this leakage. Of course, I live in LA. In LA also, the last few years, we have an airplane that has spectrometer, work with infrared light, and check and find these leakage, and they report them, which is great. The small area you see up here, this is burning of biomass, like burning woods, like burning forest, deforestation. Two other resources haven't been mentioned here. I want to add that. Volcanic eruption and plastic. We know that the plastic, especially supermarket plastic, are made of polyethylene. When they exposed to light, up to 212 days, they emit methane and ethylene. Even in the dark, in the ocean, up to 152 days, they emit methane. It's a good idea to change this bag to the paper bag, and also straw to the paperless straw. But we should remember, in the world, every year produce over 300 million tons of plastic. 8 million end up in the ocean. If they are really concerned about methane, they can produce the plastic from bioplants. Okay, let's see, bacteria are the most resource of emitting methane. Let's say, what are these bacteria? There is a bacteria we call them methanogenesis. These are archaeas, mean single cell. Don't need oxygen. We have 37 different species of methanogenesis. They are in the soil, they are in the water, they are in the body of different species. And this condition has to be particular. It has to have a pH of 6.6-7.6, means it has to be neutral or a little acidic. Temperature should be 26-28 degrees Celsius or room temperature. A little water needed. Also, the ratio of hydrogen to nitrogen to ammonia to sulfur and extra has to be accurate. But the diet of these species are the most important one. I want to just show human bodies. In human bodies, in a small intestine, we have few of methanogenesis, but in largest intestine, a lot of them, especially in the left side that end in anus. Many organizations and universities have research on the number of the species, type of a species, and like a National Science Foundation, like Halifax University in Canada, Hawaii University, Harvard University, they believe total number of all animals, all humans are 20 quintillion, 20 at 18-0. They believe we have 8.7 million different species on Earth. Human is only one species. 6.6 million on Earth, on land, 2.2 million in the oceans. So, the species that consume the most meat, like we call them carnivores. Carnivores, they are 270 species that only consume meat. They produce a little methane. And they are a species, we call them omnivores. Omnivores, they eat everything, like human, like bear, like chicken, like dogs, like pigs. These are very rare in compared to all other species, maybe 30 species, and they produce a medium amount of methane. But the species that we call them herbivore, which eat only vegetable, like all the insects, like cows, like sheep, like goats, horse, elephant, on and on, they produce a lot of methane. I explained that more in details now. Right now, I want to mention why we have a small amount of methane in our atmosphere for two reasons. Reason number one, there is another type of bacteria, we call it methanotrophic. They love methane. They are in the soil, they are in the water, a lot of them in forests, rainforests especially. So they do reverse of what methanogenesis does. Methanogenesis, they take carbon dioxide and 4 atoms of hydrogen, they convert them to methane and 2 molecules of water. So they do reverse 2 molecules of water and methane, they consume them, they convert them to carbon dioxide and 4 atoms of hydrogen. Reason number 2, in our atmosphere, we have at least 20 different gases. Some of them are rotating counterclockwise like our Earth at a speed of 62 miles per hour. Some exactly the same rotational speed, 1,038 miles per hour. Why? Some are lighter, like hydrogen, helium, oxygen. Some are molecule like methane, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, etc. So at every second, 5 billion of them collide with each other. If you ask different scientists what is the half-life of methane that would convert to CO2 and the water molecule, some say 10 years, some say 8, some say 12 and a half minutes. No scientist can follow a methane in the atmosphere. I truly believe 2.5 minutes or less is accurate. Why? Because out of every 5 molecules, we have 1 oxygen, 21% oxygen. So you don't expect that the oxygen attract 2 hydrogen with 2 positive immediately. There are scientists who believe after 4.2 hours, 1 millionth of methane stay in the atmosphere. They say the remaining convert to carbon dioxide and water. Okay, what are the resources of these bacteria? There are lots of them. I just made them different category. So the first one, I mentioned the swamp, but actually the oceans are producing the most methane. Why? There is a reason for that. Up to 200 meters, sun can shine in the oceans and we have oxygen. Under 200 meters, lots of these methanogenesis grow. So oceans, lakes, reservoir. Number 3, landfills. Number 4, all of rice plantation. We can add to that all the agriculture too. Number 5, hydroelectric dams. Number 6, dead plants and dead animal. Number 7, rotten vegetable and organic matter. Number 8, surprise all of the scientists. Why live plants emit methane? They shouldn't be surprised. In the soil, we have tons of these bacteria. Through the root enter the plants and they are gas. They emit to the atmosphere. Anyway, number 9, permafrost. The places like Siberia, when it snows, it is so cold, it freezes. The ice expand, and when in the summer they melt, they create cracks in the soil, and there's tons of bacteria in the soil and emit methane. We can say algae and also glacier. There is a glacier in Iceland, they study, equal to 136,000 cows emit methane because you are full of bacteria too. And we can say wastewater facility and Indian fart and burp of almost all species. Okay, let's see first what are fart and the burp made of. Right now I'm talking, okay? If I chew food, these gases in the atmosphere enter my stomach and they emit as a burp. We know bacteria in digestive system, they break down food and produce different gases as a fart. Fart and burp are 59% nitrogen. 78% of our atmosphere is nitrogen. 9% carbon dioxide, 21% hydrogen, 0 to 10% oxygen, 0 to 10% methane. Again, I mentioned it depends on what type of food and the condition. 1% sulfur component and very little ammonia. The bad smell of fart is from sulfur component like a hydrogen sulfide, H2S. Let's see what type of food, if we consume, create bad smell in our fart. Number one, vegetable like broccoli, Brussels sprout, cauliflower, cabbage. Number two, garlic. Number three, onion. Number four, we can say legumes. Number five, cheddar cheese. Number six, dry food. Number seven, nuts. Number eight, beer. Number nine, wine. Okay, let's get to the important part of the program. All of the species, except four groups, create gas and methane. Those four groups are, number one, birds, because the intestine, we call them cecum. They cannot digest protein. Second group are clam. Third group are octopus. Fourth group, we have 538 different mammals on Earth. Only one type of mammal cannot produce gas. They call them sloths. This is a picture of a sloth. I should bring them. We have 6 different species of a sloth, and they are two-toed or three-toed. You see? I hope you can see them. They are very lazy. Some scientists believe because they poo once every 3 weeks, because they eat the leaves of plant eucalyptus. These are acidic leaves. That is why it kills the bacteria. Some scientists say, no, that's not true. They eat all type of leaves. But these gases, it cannot stay 3 weeks in their system. It goes to their stomach through the bloodstream, get out of their mouths and their nose. Anyway, even if we add all of the species that they cannot produce gas and methane, all together are less than half of all human beings' biomass. Our biomass, in compared to all the species on land, we are 100 of biomass of all the species. Of course, they measure the carbon of biomass because water is a little bit more and less in every species. And 1/10,000 of all the species on land and in the ocean. See how insignificant they are, the species that they cannot produce methane and gas. Before I go to the most important part of the lecture, I want to show you some pictures. First of all, these are termites. A termite never sleep. We have 2,700 different species of termite. They eat woods. They have lots of gases and they produce and emit methane. We have our biomass, all of human are equal the ants. On Earth, we have 10 quadrillion ants. 10, you add 15 zero. We have 15 quadrillion. So they are heavier than all human. If all of human biomass will be 350 million tons of carbon, they have 445 million tons of carbon. Some scientists, they say they emit as much as cars. Anyway, manatees. Manatees in the ocean These they consume only vegetable, herbivores. These herbivores, they emit lots of methane. I want to also show you what blue whales. We used to have lots of whales and blue whales. 1840s, our fuel was whale's oil. So people will kill them. Right now, over 90% of them has been killed. We have 25,000 whale. These are approximately 200 ton heavy, and their fart is as big as a horse. Okay, I want to show you also sharks. We have over 1 billion sharks in our oceans, but also they produce methane and gases less than, of course, other species. There are many ways that they can reduce emission of gases and methane in the cows if they are concerned. Year 2011 in Iran, they use garlic oil and turmeric powder. It was a little effective. Then in Denmark, they use oregano. It was 25% effective. Then in Texas, they feed these cows seaweed. They feed them onion. They feed them probiotic. It was 50% effective. Then in California, they use dry seaweed and molasses. It was very effective. Then in the University of California, in the University of Australia, they use a dry seaweed. They are red and pink dry seaweed. And we call them asparagopses. These asparagopses are 99% effective. In Germany, they made a pill that when they feed them to cows, they convert methane to sugar. We know these days they are doing cloning in many places. I have seen many pictures. They show farms in Texas that 20, 30 cows, they are the same size, shape, weight, they have been cloned. But they are doing genetically engineering too. We know lifespan of cows are 18-22 years. They are trying to increase their lifespan and reduce the gases they emit, which is great. But finally in New Zealand, they are creating the vaccine, like flu vaccine. These are anti-gas, but in reality, they are antibiotic. They are going to kill these methanogenesis bacteria. Okay, right now, from 1950, consumption of cow's meat and sheep's meat has increased 7 times. Every human in their lifetime consume 7,000 animals. I eat extremely little meat, but there are some never eat meat, and some, I'm sure, eat more than 7,000 animals. The important thing is the cows and the sheep, they don't have in the upper gum any teeth. They have 8 teeth in lower gum. So they cannot chew, they swallow food. You probably have heard that cows have 4 stomachs. They have 2, but they are in 4 sections. The upper stomach can hold 50 gallons of food. So 90% of their gases are burps. 10% are fart. Okay. Around the world on Earth, we have 1.3-1.5 billion cows. In USA, we have 100 million cows. 9 million are used for their dairy product. 39 million are slaughtered for their meat. The remaining, whether for their skin, whether they use them for transportation in the farms, whether for fuel, for lipstick. Number of sheep are approximately the same. We can say number of pigs, they are 1 billion on Earth, 75 to 100 million in the USA. We have goats and baby goats or kids, these are 450 million on Earth, 2.5 million in USA. We have buffalo, roughly 200,000 - 500,000 on Earth. Anyway, I didn't write down the horses. We have 58 million horses on Earth, approximately 9.5 - 10 million just in USA. They all produce methane. But the important thing is we in USA consume 1/40 of all the meats of cows on Earth. We consume 1/40 of all the sheep's meat on Earth. Can the politician go and tell European, Asian, African, Australian, don't eat cow's meat, and just compare to all of resources I mentioned, and if one by one I would have mentioned, would have been more than 50 resources. Anyway, there is a scientist, his name is Marcus Claus. He's a professor of Zurich University. He wrote many books in this subject. He has spent lots of time with animals and in the zoo, and he's very knowledgeable. He said just from the emission of all the species, 20% of methane come from cows plus sheep, 80% from the remaining of a species. I am going to end up this lecture with a sentence that the Marcus Claus mentioned in one of his books. He said, if all the cows knew the emission of their gases and methane is how insignificant in compared to all of the species on Earth, they would have hung their head from the shame. Thank you very much for listening, and if you liked it, please press like. Have a great day. Bye.